Hi everyone. So today for video Wednesday, I wanted to show you all my dyed papers because I've been talking about them so much that I wanted to actually show them to you, and then I'm going to show you the journals that I made with them. So on my blog I showed or explained the process that I used to tea stain these pages, and I have to say that this worked out better than any other way I tried to tea stain, and I gave you the link to where I originally saw this, and what it is actually using tea and coffee and putting them in a cookie tray and letting them soak. And then I think the thing that made a difference was cooking them. So putting the oven on really low and cooking them. And I noticed that on these, one of the things I forgot to do was to crinkle the pages, because it makes a difference, but still I love the way the aging turned out. So check my blog post for, you know, the exact details of how I did it, but very simple. Basically water, tea, coffee grains, instant coffee grains in a cookie sheet, and then just baking them in the oven and letting them dry. And that's the other thing, you want to let them dry till they're almost crisp. So I did a whole bunch since I had, well, you know, once you start this process it's kind of messy, so you might as well do a bunch. So I did some that were just pages out of a vintage book, actually an old book. I did, these are just index cards, and I'm going to make some great stuff with these. I don't know if you remember when I was doing postcards, but these are just yummy, like I keep saying. I also did tags. So these are just tags from like Staples, regular manila tags, but then when you tea stain them they end up looking like this, and I just love the way they came out. So I started making some tags with those, and I'm going to show you that. I also, because I was making such a mess of my kitchen, I decided I might as well pull out my pink dye, and I also did some pink dye pages just because I like them, and I also had tea stained some of these, so I did some pink ones, and I also did some blue. Yeah, oh no, I did some blue. I think I'm going to package these and put them in my shop, or I may make some kits to have available in my shop. So these are blue, and these are just index cards, but you can see they're tea stained and they are blue stained. So basically I think I just sort of threw these in on top of my bigger pages that I did, and then I soaked them in the blue. Did the same thing with the manila tags. Let me get the light out of that. In blue. And this is just more text paper. Yeah, textbook pages. And I love putting them in these little bags and putting them in the shop for you. They look so pretty when they're all done up. Okay, but the real thing that I wanted to show you was these wonderful pages that I did like this, okay, which ended up turning into a journal, which is really what I want to show you. So for these I just bought cardstock. I think this is off-white, like the cream color, from Michael's. So it's just a bit heavier than than printer paper. And although the printer paper comes out good too, the difference is that when this gets wet, it tears really easily. So this way, using the heavier stock, it gives it a little bit more weight, and And that way you don't have to worry about it tearing. So then I had all these beautiful papers, and of course I had to do something with them. And so I made my first tea stain page journal. This was scrapbook paper that I had, so it was a sheet of 12 by 12. And I used that for my cover. So I cut it to the size of my pages, and I also used, you know, a trimmer to round the edges. I find it just makes the book look, I don't know, more authentic. Then I just randomly painted. I added just a bit of flowers, and I also put a coat of tar gel. And tar gel, you see there, you can see that it's kind of plasticized, and it's not so much that I like the gloss as how stiff and pliable it actually makes the paper. What I may do, because I don't really like the shine, because this is supposed to be a vintage journal, I may just do some sandpaper over that and try and get rid of the shine while maintaining that nice flexy cover. Okay, so inside, these are pages. I'm going to show you because I did them for my second journal as well. What I did was I took my tea stain paper and I got out my favorite images from Graphics Fairy, and I simply put this in the printer and then printed it out. So what ended up happening is I get, as part of one of my sheets in my signatures, these wonderfully faded pictures. Like, so these are the birds. I mean, I should have kept the original to show you the, I may have, hold on. You know, they don't really look like that just from the image. Let me see if I've got one. It's actually the tea stain paper that makes them look so interesting. So, I don't think I have one of the birds, but, you know, like, they actually look like this, so they're much brighter. This is just printed out on regular paper from Graphics Fairy. Sorry, this was a download, I believe, that I purchased. So, they're nice, they're bright, which I like in some cases, but on this, what I loved is the really vintage kind of look it gave on the tea stain paper. So that's what this was. I also decided I use some washi tape of birds. For some reason these tended to be bird themed, and I'm not quite sure why, but they are. And I ended up doing, you know, these were just circles that were punched out, and then I folded them in half and sort of made these, not really tabs because they're flush with the page, but I don't know, I just liked those circles. I also made lots of pockets. So when I had papers left over like this of the tea stained, and like in this case I think this was actually some photocopy paper that I had stained, and like I said, it probably ripped. So I just folded it and made it into pockets, and I just glued down, you know, the three sides rather. I did random bits of more birds on these papers. Like, it's really random, but I really like it. I also ended up on some of the pages printing this robin's nest vintage kind of blue that I really like, that I use a lot. So, you know, I could do some writing there is what I'm thinking. Added some stickers. I'm probably not finished adding things in here, but I just love it as it is, so now I'm at the stage where I'm almost afraid to touch it, if you know what I mean. This was, you can see, this was actually a torn piece of paper, you see, but it made such a great pocket, and I just noticed that came unglued, but again, I just glued here. So I folded the paper and just glued it on one side, and it made this terrific pocket. These were random bits of paper that I had been playing with. This is from a magazine, but again, I used that tar gel on it, so look how, you know, it's flexible, it's, I don't know, I just love the feel of it, and of course I love the blue. Randomly, I also just glued on bird pictures. Again, I think they were from Graphics Fairy. More birds here that I think what I did was I printed these on vellum paper, or I think on deli paper, but they kind of bled, but it's probably because I didn't leave it to dry long enough, but I don't care. I like the way it turned out. Another pocket out of vellum. And one of the things I like that I did in this journal was some of my favorite quotes are written or typed. I typed them on different pieces of paper, and then I used these scrap papers to make pockets. Another little random bird that goes into this pocket. And you can see how beautiful the background is, right? So yummy. This is the center of my book. And these are Julia Cameron's 10 Basic Principles. And if you don't know these, again, I think I put the link up on my blog. I mean, these are just so good, you know. I'll read you a couple. The refusal to be creative is self-will and is counter to our true nature. That's principle number 6. Number 2 is there is an underlying, indwelling creative force infusing all of life, including ourselves. So it's really about, you know, when you've got that gift of creativity, how to use it. Number 5 is really telling. It says creativity is God's gift to us. Using our creativity is our gift back to God. Isn't that cool? I love that. So, and I bound this. I'll talk to you a little bit about the binding. Again, these are the same pages. This one I painted with my favorite blue. I have a quote here. We will experience the life we have the faith to experience. Great quote. And then I started with this idea of sewing on or gluing on little bits of lace. And you'll see in the other journal, I did a lot more of that. More birds. More raggedy edged pockets. Which I just love these. Birds and little tags. You know, just things that I like. And you see again, I continued my half circles there. More quotes. A little bit of lace. Probably my favorite. This is again from Graphics Fairy and printed on my tea stain paper. Some ribbon. I did some of these, which are always fun. Some of that same washi tape. You'll notice I didn't want to use anything too bright in here, right? Like, it's not that it's somber, but I wanted to keep it vintagey looking, so I kind of went with toned down colors. More little pockets that I made here. This was also printed. Actually, there's a good example of what I was trying to show you. So this is, this picture, you see how gay and bright it is what I printed onto the tea stain paper. And look how it comes out here. Isn't that great? Oh, I just love it. And I used a nice paper there. I mean, these pockets are so easy to make. I just cut it, I glued it on 3 sides. I did a text page here and just another random piece of paper. I used my circle punch and just cut out half circles, you know, to make it look like a tab. I don't know if you can see that very well. Can you see what I mean? And then random things that I thought looked vintagey that I love in my pockets. More quotes. Here's a side pocket. I just glued it there. I had so much fun. The thing, how I started doing the pockets was because I didn't want to leave any of these great pieces unused. I wanted to make sure I used everything. I have a little date stamp, and I really like the way this turned out. So it has a few things on it, like it's a to-do or today, or you could put the date. But I didn't want any, like there's some things that said sweet, but I didn't think that applied to this vintagey journal. So I just used like the really simple ones, like to do, and this one says today is. I just love the way they look. You know, that stamping on there to me is just so cool. More lace that I put here. Look how great this one came out, really dark. I must have left it longer. Another pocket. This was another experiment, and this is a piece of textbook paper that I covered in ice resin, and you also get this great textured paper, but pretty brittle, like easy to tear. But I just, look how cool it looks like on here, because you can see through it. It makes it translucent. Again, that's one of those same pages, more bird pages, more ribbon. I'm going to go ahead and put lines in this journal for me for writing, because otherwise I write really crooked. Another one of these tags. Now look at this page. Oh my god. Do you not love that? I love it. And my back page. I'm probably going to stick on a page like this for here, because I don't like it. And I did do a simple binding. I think it's called a saddle stitch, but I'm not sure. But really simple to do, and maybe in another video I'll show you how I did that. But there are tons of videos online that show this. So that was my first one.